Both of your proposed budgets and campaign promises actually suggest billions of additional spending. Mr. Cuccinelli, you've suggested closing loopholes, but there's just not enough of them to cover such suggested spending. Mr. McAuliffe, you're counting on the expansion of Medicaid, but that's not guaranteed. So the question, where is the money coming from? Will you raise taxes on Virginians or cut programs? And if it's the latter, could you be specific and tell us what you would cut?
First and foremost, what I've said is relates to taxes, no new taxes. What I've talked about is the Medicaid expansion, which will free up $500 million from the general fund. The Medicaid expansion, bipartisan, Lieutenant Governor Bowling, the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. But what we need to do is first figure out what efficiencies we can have in the government, the money that we can save from the Medicaid expansion, and once we know how much money we have, then we can put to the priorities that I talk about: pre-K, early childhood development, reform in the SOLs, teacher pay, investing in community colleges, financial aid at higher ed. I think that's the prudent way to do budgeting. Figure out what our savings are first, how much money we have, and then make the decisions based upon one's priorities. My opponent has proposed a $1.4 billion tax cut. Doesn't say how he'd pay for it. Vince Callahan, the former Republican chair of the House Appropriations Committee, has said that it will bring fiscal disaster to Virginia if his plan actually went through. Just recently, E.W. Jackson said that he and Ken Cuccinelli want to eliminate the corporate income tax in Virginia. So $1.4 billion a year, not saying how you pay for it. Get rid of the corporate income tax. He didn't want the governor's transportation package, which had $6 billion. He actually worked against it. Doesn't want the $21 billion in Medicaid expansion. His plan is a fiscal disaster for the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we cannot grow and diversify when we cut public education and we cut much needed money that we need to grow and diversify our economy.
That's time. Thank you. And Mr. Cuccinelli, you have 90 seconds.
Bob, thank you for the question. Look, the Washington Post said that a lot of what you just heard from Terry McAuliffe wasn't true. My tax cut plan, which would grow 58,000 new jobs, reduce the personal income tax to about 5% and the business income tax to 4%. And like I said, grow 58,000 new jobs. I'm the only candidate with a plan, an actual plan, with details to grow new jobs. And Bob, the way we pay for that, because unlike Washington, we have to pay for these things, is to reduce the growth of government spending to just under 3.5% and to cut out about 1 in 6 of our tax credits, exemptions, and loopholes to pay for the cost of that tax cut, which again was designed around job creation. The only other major spending program that I've proposed, Bob, is in the area of mental health, and I've said how I'd pay for that. And it is to move dollars that are now used for non-health care services within the Medicaid program over to treat children, in particular children, but others as well, for mental health needs. So I've explained how I'd pay for my proposals. Terry McAuliffe has proposed $3.5 billion of spending and counting. And even with his math, he pretends to get $500 million out of a Medicaid expansion, which he's called a jobs program. Folks, it's welfare. It's not a jobs program. You can't make magic money out of the federal government like he'd like to. And that's going to cost every family a $1,700 tax increase.
Mr. Cuccinelli, thank you very much. Back to you. Terry McAuliffe, Dr. Bob had said, where's the money going to come from? You talked about government efficiency. Does that involve cutting programs? And if so, what programs would you trim down?
Well, sure. We can always bring efficiencies to government. You can always bring efficiencies to business. JLARC has a study. My opponent talks about saving money from tax incentives. It's tens of millions. It's not billions of dollars, so I'm realistic. As I say, his plan has been resoundingly attacked by Democrats and Republicans. As I say, Vince Callahan, the former chairman, 8 years of the House Appropriations Committee, said it would bring fiscal disaster to Virginia. Senator Mark Warner just commented on it, as so many local elected officials. His plan is like believing that he came here on a unicorn tonight. The idea that you could do $1.4 billion in tax cuts a year, per year, without saying how you're going to pay for it. I'd love to stand here today and promise you billions of dollars of tax cuts, but it is fiscally irresponsible. His plan, what his plan would result in, is that next year we could see thousands of teachers laid off. At a time we're facing cuts with sequestration, we need to be growing and diversifying our economy, building education,
Mr. McAuliffe,
not cutting
that
education.
Will do it. I don't know if you exactly answered what we had asked, but that's it for that question. We're going to move along.